Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about a new game from Supercell, or at least a potential new game from Supercell. It's called Floodrush, and it recently underwent a short beta test. The beta test was 10 days long. I think I got into it a couple days after it started, so I got to play this game for a week. It ended a few days ago on the 7th, and I want to talk about what I thought about this and what we will hopefully see from it in the future. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about what the game is, and then we're going to talk about the good and the bad. So first of all, this is sort of like a battle royale style game where you're on a map and you've got other players that you're competing against, and the map is shrinking as time goes on. But of course, it's a Supercell twist on a battle royale. So instead of guns, you've got basically troops that you spawn and they follow you around, and this will make more sense as we get more into the replay here. But if I had to describe this game, I would say Clash Royale meets Battle Royale. So it's kind of like that. So first of all, you get your character. You've got 3 characters to choose from, and the characters in this game are called Seekers. So this first one is by far the best one that I got to mess around with, which I did get to play all 3. I played all 3 of them a bit, and I do believe that Mia is the best. And it's because of her first ability here, Charge. It increases movement speed and attack speed, and that is incredibly valuable. And you'll kind of see why as we start playing, but you can use this ability to run away from opponents, chase down opponents, or use it just to speed up the attacks of your troops and to get through enemy troops a bit faster. Her other ability is a cannon, not quite as useful. It just throws a cannon on the ground that shoots. It doesn't do a lot of damage. I used it a couple times and didn't really care for it. The second Seeker is going to be Nook, and he does a bit of a hammer smash. When you activate his ability, he has a little bit of a circle that just pulls any nearby enemies to him, and then he hits them with the hammer. It's okay, but not the greatest. It does do a bit of damage. It's definitely not as good as an ability to go faster. And then finally, this one was the one that I used the second most. Zayanna, she just has the Taika Beast that she summons. We'll try to take a little bit of a look at all 3 of these with a little bit of gameplay as well. But yeah, that's her whole ability, is she summons a giant monster to help fight. So let's take a look at some of the troops as well, and then we'll jump into some game footage. Okay, so here are all the troop cards. You can see it's pretty similar to Clash Royale, at least from back when I played Clash Royale forever ago. You get your troop cards, you can collect more once you get a certain amount. You can use gold to upgrade the cards. I've upgraded most of these up towards level 5. Some are a little bit lower. Some I didn't really care for, especially like the whale on the top right. Still level 2 because it was just awful. It does nothing for damage. It struggles taking out the wildlife, let alone opponents' troops. I had a lot of fun with a lot of these other ones, though. The Caveman, I feel like, is underrated. There was a lot of feedback on him where people are saying he is no good. I had a pretty good time with him. He's tanky. He's not super fast, but he does do a nice stun effect when he hits enemies, and that's actually really handy. Another one that I've really liked is the Bombardier. It's that little walrus with a hat. He's got a bazooka on his shoulder. He does a ton of damage. He's a ranged unit, so all you really need to do is summon one of the tanky troops in front of him, and summon a bunch of them, and it does high damage, splash damage. So great troop card, probably the number 1, pretty close up there with the Shark Bear, which is just to the left of him. Also, in addition to troop cards, you also get some items that you can use. The items are showing on screen now. The net is probably the most useful. You can get nets and just trap your opponent's troops in place, and they can't really do anything back. I mean, they can still hit, but they're stuck in place, so if your troops aren't close enough, they can't get hit. The other ones are just basically to do damage. The bomb, the cocktail, and the rolling wheel, I guess you would call it. Those all 3 just do damage, and then the watermelon's basically just a water balloon. Which in this game, water is an element that just slows down movement speed. It can also take away HP, but that's only if you get in the deep water that circles the island, which you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. Before we do jump into the game footage, we'll also take a look at the adventure map here. So this is sort of like your Gold Pass, Silver Pass, and Clash of Clans. Of course, there's nothing paid in the beta, so right now it's just a regular quest. And then, of course, you get your daily and weekly quests as well, and these just help you move along the adventure map and collect chests and cards and things like that. Alright, and here we go. We're going to jump into some gameplay. So this is what happens when you first jump in. You'll get some random cards along the bottom. You got to pick which one you want to start with, and that does help with the RNG, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But you get to start with that one card. The Taika is the resource. I was calling it Elixir, just, you know, force of habit with a Supercell game, but it's Taika here. And if you look at the card, you've got a little number on the bottom left. That's how much Taika you need to spawn more of those troops. And then there's a number on the top right. That's what level that troop is. So you'll kind of walk around the map. You're going to open up chests, and you're going to be fighting these wildlife as well. I don't think they really have a name. They're just called beasts, I think. And you can take them out, and that's just another way to get more of the Taika. Same thing with the plants here, except the plants don't fight back. You can get Taika from them. And that's kind of the early game strategy. Run around and fill up. If you can engage in an early battle that you can win, then that is going to be beneficial to you, because it's going to give you potentially new cards that that person has, or it's going to give you a big boost in resources to spawn more troops. Now, you can see under my name, there's a number, and that is the number of troops that I have. You'll see as I spawn in more cards, that number will go up, or obviously if any troops die, that number will go down. And it's going to be the same for the other opponents. So that's a quick way to gauge how strong an opponent is. If they have 0, they've got no troops up, you can pursue that individual, take them down, and that's a knockout. And you can kind of see the numbers on the edges. Those only pop up when they're a certain distance away. And then if you can chase after them, you'll see they become more visible. And then you can engage in a fight with that person unless they, you know, run away. And then you got to chase them down. That's what's nice about that boosted speed, because people like to run away. But if you can boost up your speed, you can chase them down. The other thing on the flip side of that is if you're in trouble, you can pop that speed boost and try to get away. So that's why this is the best ability in the game. The best seeker to use is this one. So I've kind of talked about a broad generalization of what this game is and how it works. Let's go ahead and start talking about some pros and cons. All right, so let's talk about the positives first. First of all, it was a fun game. I enjoyed it. I played it every day after I found it. For the week that I had it available to play, I kept hitting my bonuses, trying to get everything progressed. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and I feel like this game does have a lot of potential. I felt like the balancing on the troops was pretty good. The troops were all interesting, and there were only a couple of troop cards. I think mainly the whale. I think there was one other that I didn't really enjoy using, but for the most part, I enjoyed using all the cards. I would find them a place in my army if I got them out of the chest, with just few exceptions. So pretty well done on the troop balancing there. Progress itself felt pretty good as well. It seemed like I was always moving forward, and didn't take me too long to unlock all the cards. I didn't, however, unlock the very last card. I wasn't able to get quite that far, but I did hear some reviews on that one that it wasn't very good. I can't say myself because I didn't really get to try that one out. So I guess maybe progress there towards the end did slow down quite a bit. I got to play at level 8 for a little bit, but I think maybe a day and a half. Just wasn't able to find that card in the chest. I was doing everything I could. I'd already spent up all my gems at that point. But overall, I do think progression felt pretty good. Now let's talk about the cons, and not just to complain, but really to point out areas where I would like to see improvement if we do get another beta. Now, first of all, the biggest thing that stood out to me is the movement. The movement was rather annoying. It's tap on the screen to move your character, and if you stop tapping, the character would get to that spot and stop moving. Not really ideal. Kind of annoying, to be honest. You could tap on an object or an opponent and chase after whatever that was, but I feel like overall a joystick would be tremendously better for movement. And not just that, but you know, flip it horizontally instead of vertically. The vertical layout was a little off-putting. I feel like it would be better in horizontal. So do horizontal, do joystick movement, kind of like the way Brawl Stars is set up. I feel like that would be a good way to do it. The next thing that was probably the second most annoying thing about this was RNG. Luck had so much influence over how well you did on any given battle. Basically, whoever gets the better cards earlier in the game is probably the person who's going to win. And if you can't find good cards, you're going to get knocked out. I did find myself in a lot of matches where I just couldn't find good cards anywhere to start off, and I didn't end up doing so well. So luck was playing a tremendous role in this. A few things that I think could offset this. For one, I mean, they already have the pick your card early, or pick your first card. They give you some choices there. So that does help a little bit. Something else they could do to offset the luck base is maybe give us 2 troop cards out of every chest. That way we can build up our army a little bit faster, and everybody has the same opportunity to get the cards that they're looking for to get what they need. And the other thing is to get Seekers more involved in the actual combat, and I'm actually going to touch on this one a bit more here a little bit later. The next thing that I found that I didn't really enjoy was the troop AI. A few different things. One is just the AI itself, where I could be standing next to an opponent who has 0 troops on the board, and my troops are just standing there right beside him, not attacking him. That happened more than a few times, and it was incredibly annoying. The other thing was the attack or retreat options for your troops. Your troops will pretty much aggro on whatever's close most of the time. So if you wanted to, say you're chasing somebody down and you're trying to attack that particular person and get them down to 0. If somebody else walks by, most of the time your troops are just going to completely switch off of who you're pursuing and go pursue the other person. And that oftentimes led to my troops going after somebody who was way more powerful than who I was trying to take down and build up my army. Now, on the flip side of that, if you try to retreat, your troops don't like to retreat. You have to get as far away from them as possible before they'll even consider joining up with you and running away. And they're going to attack any opponents or wildlife along the way, which slows them down and makes it harder to get out of a difficult situation. So I guess maybe just a little bit of AI tweaking overall, maybe give us a little bit more control over the troops with maybe a tiny attack/retreat button. I don't really have a good answer to that one, but I think if the overall AI is tweaked just a little bit, it could just solve the whole thing. Also, I do understand that while having a retreat button is nice and retreating is important for trying to regroup, it's also annoying on the flip side if you're trying to pursue somebody who you've invested a lot of resources into taking down and they're just able to get away. I think retreating needs to be more on the side of what items you have to use to get away. So maybe they could implement some more things on that, like maybe a little smoke screen that slows down your opponents. The watermelon already kind of does that if you have one of those available. Same with the net. So maybe not let your troops necessarily retreat, because from the side of the attacker, that's incredibly annoying. But if you have the items available, then you're making a good play to retreat, and then it could be done that way. But I still think that while you're retreating, your troops need to kind of stick with you. So just some thoughts on that. Now let's talk about the Seekers. This will be kind of the last negative thing that I wanted to mention, was the Seekers have kind of a poor balance. And what I mean by that is the Seeker that I was using, Mia, she was tremendously better than the other Seekers, and it wasn't even close in my opinion. And based on what I seen in the battles, just having that speed boost was so incredibly helpful that it wasn't worth it to bring the guy with the hammer or to bring the lady with the other beast that she can summon. And it really wasn't worth it to use her cannon ability. It was always the speed ability. So maybe change up her main ability, maybe make her only cannon, but make the speed boost an item that you can find. That would be significantly better. That would level out these Seekers quite a bit. I would also give that cannon a buff because it was hitting like a wet noodle. So if you buff up the cannon a little bit, take away the speed boost option, make the speed boost an item that anybody can use, much better. And then I do want to touch on the last thing about the Seekers that goes back to the RNG, and that's to make the Seekers more involved. Right now, your combat is almost 100% based on the troops that you summon. I think if the Seekers were more involved, that takes down the RNG a bit, and it's going to balance out the Seekers a little bit more as well. The Seekers would be a lot better if they had a regular attack in addition to their special ability. So again, think Brawl Stars. If you've got the little movement thing on the left, you could have your, on the other side, the attack button, and then your special ability button below it, just like Brawl Stars does. And that would make the Seekers tremendously more involved, and that would push things more towards being skill-based as opposed to luck-based. Because even without all the troops that you find early on, you still have more involvement with how your battles are going to go. And items do a nice job of this already. I just think they should build up upon that as well. And in addition to that, maybe they also have weapons that the Seekers could carry. You could take that item button on the left side of the troops, split it in half, and on the top side you have usable items, and on the bottom side you have like throwable items. So by usable items, I mean like a weapon, and then on the bottom side maybe you have your speed boost, you have your nets, you have your bombs, all those things can go down there. And then I think that would balance things out pretty well. Alright, I'm going to try to keep this video relatively short, so the last thing I want to talk about are things to look forward to with this game. Now, I didn't really put these in the cons because I suspect they're things that the team is already working on, but these things would certainly make the game significantly better. And for example, more maps I think would make things a lot more interesting. This was an early beta, so you can't really expect a whole lot, so I'd imagine that they're going to be working on more maps. Bigger maps would be awesome as well, but just change up the scenery from time to time. The other thing that kind of goes along with that would be more game modes. There's a lot you could do with that. There could be like a duos, I think would be pretty cool. You and a friend summoning the beasts and trying to fight your way through the battle royale. Another thing that I thought would be fun would be like some sort of survival or some sort of boss that you go up against that's more PvE rather than PvP. I think that could be pretty fun as well. But yeah, I feel like there's quite a bit they could do with the game modes aspect. I think that's pretty much all the notes that I have on Floodrush. I'm looking forward to seeing if or when Floodrush does come back for a second bigger beta, or maybe if they just are ready to launch it sometime later on. We will definitely keep an eye out for it. Keep an eye out on this channel if it comes back. When it comes back, I'll be posting about it once again, so definitely stay tuned. If you want to stay up to date in the Floodrush Discord server, it is linked in the description down below. It's a public server, anybody can hop in. Check it out, stay tuned to there as well. There's a lot more feedback from a lot of other people in there too if you want to get more of an idea from other people on how this game played. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please do be sure to check out my previous video of Clash of Clans content, and also be sure to hit thumbs up and subscribe so you can catch my future content. Thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll catch you all next time.